Guys, all the cars that you see in these videos are for sale on my website, www.woodsandbarclay.com. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, welcome back to the series on the 1980 300 SD. Today I'm going to start doing the minor repair work I want to do on the car. Let's see, in the last video I think I said transmission cooler line hoses, front brake calipers, fix the antenna, change the grommets on the air filter housing, valve adjustment, valve cover gasket. You know, this is pretty normal stuff that you have to do on these cars. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. All right guys, first thing, I'm over here on the passenger side of the car, and before I order these new calipers, I want to inspect the ones that are on here because there's a couple of different options of caliper, and I want to make sure I order the right one. So I think this is the same as a 126 chassis caliper, because the 1979 model is a little different. Let me inspect this further. Now I see there are brand new rotors. Check that out. See, the coating is still on here. These were just installed. Yeah, I guess the previous owner installed those. All right, I'm just looking right here. There we go. You see this little, it's like a notch right here that allows the hub to spin without touching the caliper right there. So yeah, these are for the 116 specific. The 126 calipers will not work on this car because they don't have that little cutout. Yeah, you can see right there how there's like that kind of cutout area that allows the hub to fit right up next to the caliper like that. So I'm gonna have to order these special 116 calipers, and I can get you a part number and post it on the screen here. Unfortunately, those calipers are like $600 each. I think they were like $550 each for wholesale cost. Retail, the wholesale parts website listed them as like $1,200 but I think they were $550 each is what it said for driver and passenger side. But yeah, as far as brake hoses and rotors, that's already done. So I'm going to go ahead, place the order for these calipers now. All right guys, I'm logged in here to Parts Authority. This is one of my wholesale accounts, and we can see this is the this is either left or right caliper, 230041. Now these are the ones specific to the 79 model, and if you look closely right here, so I was actually incorrect. We can use the less expensive W126 caliper. This is a 116 only caliper, and you can see we have a notch here and another like notch here. The 79 models and 78 models use this caliper. But if you remember the video I just shot, and guys, let me show you this caliper, one of those is $522. That's for the earlier model 300 SD. Now this caliper is for the 126, and if you remember from the video I just showed you guys, we only had the one notch or the one cutout area right here. So in 1980 they modified that, and we can actually use this less expensive 126 caliper, which is the one that's on the car now. And these, let me show you the price difference here. There we go. So these, the price is $352. And now this is, keep in mind guys, this is an ATE or ATE original equipment, brand new. This is not a refurb. I mean, see, you can get the Cardone rebuilt for like $78, and half of those are gonna leak on you. So I go ahead and I buy the brand new, you know, fresh manufactured brand new ones. So that's good. We can save a little money there, $352. So the reason I showed that process, guys, is you can't just type in on websites, hey, I have this year classic Mercedes, and expect the part to be correct. Because Mercedes changed parts depending on chassis number and year model, even if it's the same model vehicle, which you see on the 116, they changed it in 1980. Also, a lot of people say, hey, where do you get parts? Parts aren't available. Yes, the parts are available, when you have wholesale parts supplier accounts. Now you can also get your parts, the great retail stores are FCP Euro, Auto House AZ, Pelican Parts, which they can order directly from Mercedes and supply aftermarket, or you can call the Classic Center, which is going to be extremely expensive when you can get the same OEM, original equipment manufacturer part, through a parts supplier. So anyway, let me get these ordered. I'll be back when the calipers are in, and I'll show you installation on the car. Okay, so it's a couple of days later. You can see I've got our new valve cover gasket in for when we do the valve adjustment. I've got the new transmission, flexible transmission cooler hoses with the reinforced steel coil around them that protects them. And I've got our new front calipers. And you can see I made sure I ordered. These are actually on the 1980, it turns out they are the W126 calipers. It's the 1979 model that has a slightly different caliper, and they're much more expensive. But the way you confirm that is this little notch right here that is clearance for the hub is slightly different on the 1979 model. Anyway, these are, brand new ATE. These are not remanufactured. So we'll go ahead and get these on the car. Now, the first thing I want to do today, I want to remove the air filter housing because you can see it's loose on there. So I want to make sure that the bushings are good, and also check to make sure the mounting bar is not cracked or broken. So let's go ahead and get this thing off of here. Pretty easy to take these off, guys. First, we're going to take our accordion tube off right here. It just slides right off of here like that. And pay attention to what I'm doing because this is common maintenance on these vehicles. Next thing you want to do is pop these guys loose. Take off your lid. Let's see, there's a date on here. Let's see, what's that say? 8/10/2024. So this is a new filter. Now it's a man filter, and the man filters fit extremely tight. So sometimes when I'm trying to remove these, I actually tear them up. So if we do that, we're going to replace it with a brand new filter, even though this one's new. The Hengst filters fit much better. So let's see if we can get this one out of here. Sometimes what I have to use is a pick. Yeah, something changed in the manufacturing process with the man filters, so they're a little tight now. And yeah, we probably are going to have to tear this up to get it out, unfortunately. All right, you can see I had to kind of tear this filter up to get it out. And let me show you what's going on with these man filters. When they do like the foam injection molding, see this flap right here? How thick that is? Well, when you install it, that flap gets stuck down here on the metal housing, and you cannot pull them out. And let me get also, I think this diameter is a little bit smaller. Let's go ahead, I'll compare this to the Hengst and show you the difference. Okay guys, here's the Hengst filter. And if you notice, see that lip? See, it's not there. That injection molded foam. See how smooth it is right there? As compared to what man has done. See how they have this big, yeah, I think you guys can see what I'm talking about. And that causes these filters to get stuck in the engine or in the air filter housing. It's not that they don't work. They work fine. It's just impossible to get them out without damaging them. Here, I'm going to demonstrate. This is the Hengst filter. See how easy this goes on and off? See, it doesn't get stuck on there. Anyway, let's go ahead, finish removing this filter housing. Okay, so down in your filter housing, you see there's 1, 2, 3 10mm nuts. Now we need to remove those. That's what attaches the bushings. So let's go ahead and take those out. I can tell the one that's broken. It's this one right over here because my nut didn't come off. Yeah. All right, the next thing we need to do is get underneath here. There is a band clamp. It is right down here. It holds it to the turbo. See, there's our turbo. We're going to undo that band clamp, and there's a screw right down here. Not this one right here. That's the top one. I'll get down there and get that one unscrewed, and then we can lift this off and pull it off the engine. All right, this one's kind of buried down in there, so I've got a wobbly wrench here to get on there. It's a screwdriver or a 10mm socket. There we go. All right, that band clamp is now loose. And so what we can do now, so I want to remove this right here, our breather hose, and then this will lift up. All right, we have this is our broken mount right over here, and it's still like partially attached. So let me see if I can get that nut undone. There it goes. Okay, now that everything's disconnected, we can pull this off the front of the turbo. There we go. And slide this out of the car. Okay, so let's do an inspection here. What I can see, here we go. That's our broken one right there. And these are actually all in excellent condition. Oh, nope, that one's broken too. So we're going to replace all these mounts. And let's see if this one, yeah, we're going to have to get that one out. And these all just unscrew, but what guys sometimes do is put a nut on the back of them to hold them in place. They're not there, but there's one right here. So we'll go ahead and get that nut off the back, and I'll unscrew all of these. All right, what was done over here, a 10mm nut was put on the back to better hold this one. And there's our little nut. All right. And all right, let me go ahead and get the other ones off, guys, and then we'll be back in a second. Here we go. I've got the replacement bushings here. You can see all it is two studs with a piece of rubber in the middle, and that rubber can vibrate a little. And what that's for, it's so this air cleaner housing can, vibrate in place here, because if it wasn't vibrating, it would crack the intake manifold. That's why the engineers designed these little pieces to vibrate and fail. So it's a common maintenance item, because if they didn't vibrate and fail, that vibration would travel down your mounting arm onto your intake manifold where it's bolted, and you would crack your intake manifold. So don't think about trying to upgrade this and install, like a solid bushing here. You want these to vibrate, and they need to be able to fail. So anyway, again, this is a common maintenance item. And here, guys, these are little heat shields. These aren't really necessary. Usually people remove them just because it makes it more difficult to change your bushing. But this car still has them on there, and a little heat shield sits around our bushing. And then we can go ahead, and these bushings just thread in. They just screw right back in. There we go. See how I'm just screwing the bushing down in there? All right, there we go. Let's go ahead and put our final one in, and then we can put our air filter housing back on. All right, guys, we have all new bushings on here. The next thing we want to address, and this is also common if it hasn't already been done on the car. A lot of these cars, I see it's already been done, but on some of the lower mileage vehicles, it hasn't. Right here, this is the turbo wastegate hose, and we can see the hose supposed to go right there, and it's cracked and come loose and come off of there. So we need to get our old hose off of here, and we're going to replace that wastegate hose. Okay, here's our old hose on here. Not sure if you guys can see. We're just going to get this old hose off of here. There it comes. All right, there we go. There's just where the old, the end of the hose had just rotten and come off of there. We can see there's the old original clamp. They had like a spring-loaded clip, and I can see that this one's broken. So we're going to replace that with a little band clamp. So I just went through my spare part stash, and turns out I have some of the original spring clips that hold those that wastegate hose on. So I went ahead and cleaned them up in the parts washer. Those are fantastic condition, so we can put the original clips back on the car and don't have to use some ugly band clamps. All right, the next clip I need to get off is going to be right down there on the bottom of the turbo. See where all the oily mess is down there? That's what the bottom of turbos look like. I need to get right down there and get that hose off. So let me go ahead and do that. I'll be right back. All right, I'm going to get under here with some little pliers and see if I can get a hold of that clip to release it. That's why there's not band clamps under here, guys, because they use these because you can release them much easier. All right, there we go. Okay, there, I got it off there. The old clip fell down on the ground, and here's our hose. And see, when you don't change that, the heat from the turbo makes these brittle, and they will crack off at the end. Okay, let me go back here to my Mercedes hose stash. Here's the hose we need to match up here. So let me go through all my hoses and find the right one. Okay, beautiful. So keep in mind our hose, this is the old hose. It was a little short because the end of it had broken off. So I cut our new hose a little bit longer. So let's go ahead and get this back on the car. All right, let's see if I can demonstrate how to install these little spring-loaded clips. You can see there's little fingers that come out there, and you just take some needle nose, put it around there, squeeze it together, slip it over your hose, just like that. Then we have the factory original clips on there. All right, let me get this one. Whoop. There we go. Take our hose right through there. All right. Now I'm going to slide them down the hose a little bit, then stick it on the car, then slide them back up the hose. That's how you want to install them. So we'll slide it down the hose. There we go. Then reinstall them, then pull our clips back down. And that'll be good to go. All right, guys, you can see I've got the factory clip back on there. And I'll wipe away some of that oil and grease down there, but there we go. See that factory clamp is back on there? Let's go ahead and attach this one up here now. Kind of a tough spot to record. So first let me move our clamp a little further down the hose. There we go. And we'll come up here and reinstall it. There we go, perfect. Now let's get our clip. We're going to turn it around a little bit. There we go, right like that. Okay, that's on there. Now let's slide. There's our factory clip. Let's go ahead and slide it down a little. See if I can record myself doing this for you guys. Not sure if I can do it one hand, but see, we're going to grab it right there. We're going to slide that clamp almost. Okay, there we go. I need two hands, guys, because I need to push the clip with one hand while I'm pinching it with the other. All right, there we can see our factory clip is on there, and that is not going anywhere. I might try to slide it down a little bit more, but you guys get the idea. All right, there we go. Mission accomplished. We now have the turbo wastegate hose reinstalled with original factory clips, and I cut it enough length so when you're reinstalling the air filter housing, see, that's out of the way for the, I'll show you the section to go onto there. See this U section right here? It's got to curve around and it's got to plug onto the turbo. All right, guys, this really isn't necessary here. I'm just going to clean off, make that a little prettier, get some of the oil from around here off of there, from underneath here. Like I said, not necessary at all, but yeah, you know, why not just kind of clean up some parts while we're down here. Okay, I just got a rag with some acetone. You can see I cleaned around here and got some of that oil off the bottom of the turbo. Looks a little better now. Like I said, not really necessary. I just like to clean things. So I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the air filter housing back on the engine. And guys, by replacing that tube, there will be a huge difference in performance. That's the turbo wastegate tube. When that thing pops loose, you'll hear like a whistling sound from under the hood when you're driving, and you will experience a power loss. So that's going to restore all the power to the vehicle. All right, guys, you see our turbo right down there. We need to get this tube over the end of the turbo. So we're going to stick that down here. There we go. That's going to slide right onto our turbo. There we go. And then our bushings, remember the bushings under here, are going to press right through there. Beautiful. Now, see, that's going to be secure once I put the bolts back in there. And now I need to tighten up this upper band clamp and this lower band clamp onto the turbo and the air filter housing assembly. So this upper clamp, you can see it right here. It's pretty easy to access with a screwdriver. We're going to snug that down. There we go. Now I need to get underneath here with my little wobbly wrench and tighten that one down there on the bottom that goes onto the turbo. I'll do that and be back in a second. Now down here we have, see where the bushings come through, and we put some 10mm nuts right on top of those, and then we tighten those back down. There we go. We'll tighten all these down, one there, one there, and one there. And that'll hold the filter to the mounting bracket and bushings, and then we'll put in our new Hengst air filter. All right, let's go ahead and attach our breather hose up here. There we go. And then we want to tighten these down. Now, guys, you don't want to over tighten them or you will break them. So you just snug them up until the nut bottoms out. There we go. But yeah, we don't want to forget our accordion tube here. Just goes right there. And then slides over the front. Here we go. Here you go, guys. Here's the Hengst filter. Watch how much easier these install. See, they just fit. And then you can pull them back out easily. Like I said, I showed you the problem with the man filters. Don't get me wrong, the man filters will work. You basically have to destroy them, though, to get them back out. All right, we'll put our lid back on. And you notice the 116 is different than the 123. This breather tube connects down here. It doesn't connect to the top of the air filter housing lid. So this is a unique part to the 116. Put our clips back on. And tighten down our wing nut. And there we go, guys. Everything has been serviced here and is good to go. See how snug and tight that is now? That won't rattle. And we have our new turbo wastegate hose. All right, time to move to the brakes. And before we move over to the brakes, guys, I just want to point out how nice the condition of everything is in this engine compartment. You can see here's our vacuum hose that runs back to the brake booster, and it is just beautiful condition. All of the rubber fittings for the vacuum lines, they look brand new. Those may have been changed. And then all of our clips, we saw our little clips are still intact. It's just really, really beautiful condition. The hose, I'm sure that hose has been changed because it's beautiful condition. And back here, all these hoses are absolutely fantastic. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful condition. A lot of guys are like, hey, will you please change all the hoses on the car? Guys, do not do that. These original hoses from Mercedes, they are superior rubber quality. The stuff they're making today is just not the same thing. I can see this lower radiator hose has actually been replaced. There it says made in USA. It would have said made in Germany if that was the original. I can see that hose right there has been replaced. So here we go. That little short hose right there has been replaced. And you'll see that on most of these cars, guys, they're 45 years old. Hoses have been replaced at some point. But these back here especially, these heater hoses that go into your climate control system, guys, don't mess with those. Those are fantastic condition, and I rarely ever see the need to replace these hoses back here on 116s. So don't do it. Don't do it just because you think they're old and that you should do it. That is not true. Do not replace those, guys. They are awesome hoses. All right, now that we've got all that other stuff knocked out, let's go ahead and get these new brake calipers on here. All right, beautiful. I can see that these are brand new rotors. There you go, check that out. These rotors are brand new. It still has that protective coating on them from when they ship. So we just want to get, let's see, we got brand new pads too. See that? See how thick that pad is? And of course there's brand new brake hoses. So we just want to change this 45-year-old caliper and put on a new caliper, because like I said, even though these are working fine, there's no telling when a 45-year-old caliper is going to start leaking. So this is really just a safety issue. Also, I've noticed this car has the Michelins on here, and I just looked at the date codes. They're only like 4 years old. So these were the best tires ever made for these cars, and being only 4 years old, I don't want to put on new tires. We definitely want to keep these original Michelins. I wish Michelin still made these. And let's see, as you guys can see, get that little rock out of there. These tires have like literally probably 98% tread life. So they barely have any miles on them. Excellent, excellent condition. These are great tires. All right, guys, first thing we want to do is get this brake pad wear sensor off of here. That's just a small 10 millimeter. And we'll just set that aside. And then we can pull this guy out of here. Now I need both hands to pull the sensors out of the harness here. Okay, we have our little pad wear sensors, and they just pull straight out of there. And these have been replaced. Yeah, they have some brake dust on them, but see, that's obviously a new one. So we can actually reuse these. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, I want to go ahead and loosen the brake hose. That way, when we pull off the caliper, we don't have to loosen the hose while the caliper's off the car. That's kind of tough. And the hose is right there. We go, right there, and I think that's a 14 millimeter. And we're going to go ahead loosen this while it's on the car because it's easier that way. All right, there we go. All right, see, that's loose now, so that'll make it easy to come off once we remove the caliper. Now with the 19 millimeter, we'll go ahead and remove these. There we go. Okay, before I completely take this off, we want to get our pads out of there, because remember, these pads are brand new, so we want to transfer those pads over. And removing the pads on ATE calipers are easy. We just put a punch right there. We press these pins out. There we go. All right, there we go. And let's get this one out of here. There we go. All right, then we can get a retainer off. And we have all new hardware with the new brakes. So we'll take those off. Actually, we can leave our pad wear sensors attached to the pads. We're just going to transfer those over. All right, let's see if I can push those out from the back. There we go. Let's get our pad out of here. See how thick that pad is, guys? That is a brand new brake pad. We can absolutely transfer those over. All right, let's get this one out here. There we go. Actually, we're going to remove this rotor because we want to undo this bracket so it loosens up the hose. See, the hose goes through this bracket on a 116 chassis. I mean, we may be able to do it. Yeah, I'd rather just take off this rotor, take off the bracket, so then we have better access in this hose. It gives us some slack. So let's go ahead and do that. There you go, that's that bracket. And this bracket is held in by a bolt right behind. See, the bolt goes through and sticks out right there, right behind the rotor. And that bracket holds our brake hose in place. And once we undo that bracket, it'll let the brake hose come over here and make it easier to screw on the new caliper. So yeah, look, see that old caliper? See how nasty it is down in there? Those were still working, but no telling when that seal around the piston is going to fail. That's why we're changing these. Okay, let's just go ahead and tap off our cover here. Our dust shield. There we go. And we need a 5mm to undo the spindle nut here. Then we're going to screw that spindle nut off and pull off this rotor. All right, there's our spindle nut. All right, we just loosen that. There we go. Take this guy off. All right, now we'll pull off this rotor. There we go. We'll just set this to the side. I can see there's plenty of fresh grease on here, so no need to re-grease anything. But that is what we're going for right there. That little bolt, we take that out, and then this bracket comes off, and we can get some slack on our brake caliper. There we go. Now this can pull off to the side, and I can unscrew this caliper and put our new caliper on. Oh, here we go. Now I'm just going to cover the end with my thumb so the brake fluid doesn't come out. And we have our new caliper. Put that right there. Get that thread started. There we go. We lost minimal fluid. All right. Now let's see, that's going to go back up there. And we'll go ahead and put our little bracket back on there. There we go. All right, we'll set this right over here. Here we go. Now let's put our hub back on. There we go. Now we can go ahead and set our caliper back over there. All right, we'll just set that there while we put our spindle nut and spindle back on here, spindle nut back on here. There we go, this guy just spins back on here like this. We'll torque this or tighten it to the right spec here in a minute. But what I've also noticed, the little radio interference pin right here in the end has broken off, so we're going to put a new one in there. There we go, there's the leftover piece. There we go. That's what those look like. And I've been told these are actual grease scrapers to keep the grease going into the bearing. No, guys, these are radio interference pins. I guess they helped with like radio interference on AM stations or FM stations. Not really sure. That's how that goes, right like that. And then we want to tighten this down. Until we get the play out of it. All right, I'm going to let it sit there for a second, and we're going to put our caliper back on and bolt it in place, and then we'll set the preload. Now the calipers come with new bolts, and you see the Loctite's already applied. I'm going to go ahead and put these on the back so we get that located and centered over the rotor. Okay, I just went behind there, put in those 2 bolts, and I tightened back our brake hose. Now we can set the preload on here. So see how I can jiggle that? You just want to tighten this up until you get the play out. Which is right there. That's it. Now we want to snug that back up. There we go. Now we've already got grease packed. That's fresh grease packed in there, so we don't need to apply more. We'll go ahead and put our grease cap back on. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and get our pads back in here. Now, one thing I want to point out, by the way, guys, see that stuff that's like dripping all through there? And it's like black, brownish. That's the original cavity wax. Mercedes would spray that wax all up in here so it prevents any rusting. So that's a good thing. That's not dirt. It's not dirty. It's cavity wax. And the cavity wax will attract, you know, a little dirt to it. Now, that's what makes it turn black like that. But you want to leave that stuff on the car. That stuff is good for the car. Okay, so when we tighten down this hose, notice how it kind of twisted this brake hose. So we want this brake hose to like be in a smoother arc. We don't want it to be under any tension. So we're going to loosen it right here up top, and then we're going to straighten that hose out a little bit and then retighten it back down. To do that, we're just going to get an 11 millimeter right here. Crack that loose. There we go. All right, that's cracked loose. Now I think that's either a 14 or 17 millimeter that allows us to turn that. There we go. Let's try our 14. There we go. That's how we want it right there. Now there's no stress on it. See, it just comes straight down, curves over, and goes straight into our caliper. I'm actually going to turn. There we go. So that was the goal there. Now this is like a smooth, it comes straight down, goes across, curves straight down. It's not under any tension and it's not being stressed. All right, let's go ahead and get our pads back into here. Installing pads on Ate rotors is very easy. We just slip them in. There we go. And then we need to get the retaining pins and the retaining clip that go right here. There we go. And ATE or Ate provides all new hardware. And I've showed this in many videos. These pins, they have like a lead crush washer. So if I can get the focus right there. When you push these in, that lead compresses and it holds the pin in place. So put our retaining clip right here. There we go. And then we can put our pin through right here. There we go. Just like that. And now we need to tap those in with a punch to put them into place. Sorry for the glare of the shop lights up there, but basically you put a punch right here and you just tap these pins in place. And there you go. Now let's reconnect our brake pad wear sensors. All right, our brake pad wear sensors, we just plug them back in to the harness like that. Here we go. So we put our harness right there. And we put our 10 millimeter back through there, and we'll tighten this down. Now don't crank that down, guys, or you'll break it. There we go. There we go. That brake is done. Now I'll just go ahead, torque down the bolts on the back, and then we'll move to the other side of the car, and I'll just show you when I'm done with that side. All right, there we go. We're done with this side. So now we have a fresh caliper to match the fresh ones on the back. The pads were already new, all new hardware, new brake hose, and that's going to be safe. That'll have no risk of leaking. And just to show you this old caliper, you know, this is 45 years old, and you can see it's already kind of crusty and nasty down in there, but behind these pistons on both sides are these big square cut O-rings, and that's what keeps the fluid behind the piston. And those O-rings, you know, after 45 years, there's no telling when they're going to start leaking. Now, yes, you can rebuild these calipers, and I've done it before. You can buy the kit, pop out the pistons. Now, despite being able to place these square cut O-rings, there are actually O-rings, if you split this caliper in half, so you can take these bolts out, there are O-rings in between the halves of the caliper. So you can't get those in the kit. And, you know, those are also 45 years old. So that's why, you know, I like to replace them. Yes, it costs a little bit of money, but now we have a brand new, and this is the exact same manufacturer, ATE or ATE. This is exactly what Mercedes put on the car in 1980. And anyway, just wanted to show you why we replaced that. We're over here on the passenger side, and I noticed the radio interference pin was also broken off on this side. So just wanted to show you that we're replacing it with a new one also over here. There we go. All right, guys, I'm just going to demonstrate one side. Now, of course, this fitting up here, that's just a 19 millimeter. There we go. We can just crack this loose and we'll screw that off. Now, this one right here, it's also a 19 millimeter, but you need to take a 17 millimeter. You need to hold the transmission line still like that. That way you don't bend that metal transmission line. And then you can come in here and crack that line loose. That's how easy it is. So we're going to screw that off and then quickly grab our other one and put it up there. And guys, you don't lose a significant amount of transmission fluid when you do this. Like, you don't lose enough to even have to top it off. So let me go ahead and get this one out and I'll be back in a second. I'm just going to hold this one in my hand here. I'm going to start undoing this guy. All right, that's probably about loose. Yep. And so is that one. All right, so we're just going to quickly pop that off and quickly pop this one off. And we'll screw that one on. And there we go. That's how much fluid we lost. It was like, you know, barely even, it's not substantial. You don't need to worry about replacing it. All right, let me tighten these guys back down. Now let me get our 17 millimeter to hold on there. And there we go, guys. Back on there. Now you might ask the question, why is this curved like that? Well, your cooler or your radiator is hard mounted to the chassis of the vehicle. The engine vibrates up and down. So if this was like a straight hose, it would break. It would flex and eventually break. So they put a curve in it. So when your engine vibrates, it gives this some slack and it can vibrate up and down a little bit because it's a hard connection here and a vibrating connection here. That's why they're like that. All right, let me go ahead and change the other side. I'll come back when I'm done. Okay, there we go. We have this side changed and that side changed. That'll be good for the next 40 years. And you can see this is how much fluid, you know, there's my foot. It's like 3 little spots. That is not even enough to make a difference in your transmission level. So you don't have to worry about the fluid loss. All right, guys, what we want to do next is bleed the front calipers. Now, we don't have to do the rear calipers because those have already been replaced, but we're going to do that with the Motive Products Power Bleeder. And let me see if I can get you guys the part number on this. Okay, there we go. This is model 0109. That's for European bleeders. And that model comes with the aluminum cap. That way, you know, the regular model comes with the plastic cap, but the aluminum cap, you know, is obviously more durable. It's going to last longer. But all we're going to do is open up our master reservoir. Oh, there we go. And there's already fresh brake fluid in here. I can see this fluid has already recently been changed. So we just need to bleed it through the caliper and then top it off with some fresh fluid. And we're going to pressurize the system up to 10 psi. There we go. Let's pump this guy up. There we go. That's 10 psi. Now I'm going to go crack the bleeder down at the caliper and we're going to get the air bubbles out. Okay, guys, this process is pretty easy when you have a pressure bleeder. So first thing I did, I took the little cap off of our bleeder right here, and I just have a hose into a bucket. So we want to, this is a 9 millimeter. We'll crack that loose. There we go. And we're going to see the fluid coming through here in a second. Oh, there it goes. See the bubbles coming out? Pushing the bubbles through there. And there we go. We have solid, fresh fluid. We'll let that bleed for a second. Then we're going to tighten it back up. We're going to go do the other side. And then we're going to come back, pump the brake pedal a couple of times, then come back and do it again. Now, guys, when you're doing this, you always want to start with the caliper furthest away from the master cylinder. So since we're doing the fronts, we started on the passenger side and now we're doing the driver's side. Now, the reservoir for the front is the back half. See, that level dropped a little bit. The reservoir for the rear of the car is the front half. So anyway, so when you're doing the rear of the car, you want to start all the way back on the rear passenger and then do the rear driver. That's the order you need to bleed the system in. All right, let's see if I can record here on the driver's side. So we need to go counterclockwise and break that loose. And we'll watch for the bubbles. Oh, there you go. See all the bubbles coming out? And there we go. Solid brake fluid. All right, so we'll tighten that back up. And then we need to go pump that brake pedal a couple of times and then come back and do this again. It doesn't take much. See, that's how much fluid came out. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'm going to go in the car, pump the pedal a couple of times, then come back and finish bleeding these brakes, and then I'm going to put the wheels and tires back on. Now, stay tuned. There'll be a couple more videos on this car. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.